That's my mom. That's my mom. Alhamdulillah ta'ala. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu.
I thought you were twins.
ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our sinful deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, there is no guide for them. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. O you who believe, revere lives, and should be revered, and die not except as Muslims. Amma ba'd. I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims, an organization that was established to conduct da'wah, to invite people to the true and peaceful message of Islam, and then to empower and educate them. So we have some new guests here today that I think I knew from another soul world. When I saw them, they looked so familiar, it was as if I had known them all my life. So if you would stand up, please, and tell us your name.
These both are
And
twins.
yes. If you would please stand up and introduce yourself.
I'm Amanda. This is my mom, Dawn. We moved down here about a month ago from Indiana.
Well, they go.
And they both embraced Islam on the same day. MashaAllah. So sisters, please give them your phone numbers, our phone number, and stay in touch with them. Let them see just how supportive ISLAM is. They, like many that we've met over the years, came to Islam and nobody taught them how to pray or anything. So they sort of struggled along the way, and Allah has blessed us for them to join our family. So welcome. Is there anyone else here for the first time today? I don't. Okay. So welcome back, everybody. Just in terms of announcements, May the 28th will be our potluck at St. Lucia United Methodist Church, and that's 6 miles up the road here on the corner of Conroy, Windermere, and Apopka. And it's in the fellowship hall there. We have a monthly potluck. Every event that ISLAM does, we have a halakha, so we always praise God no matter where we are, when we are, how we are. We always have a small lesson and praise Allah. Some people might think it's more than a small lesson. Because when I get started, sometimes I have a hard time stopping. We do collect non-perishable items, and we give it to local food pantries. For those of you who have donated already today, thank you very much. May Allah bless you and bless you with the highest level of paradise, inshallah, and bless you with the best husband or the best wife or whatever is applicable. Unbroken cell phones. If you have one tucked away somewhere you're no longer using, we don't need all the electric wires and all that. We just need the phone. We actually use those. They're given to Harbor House for victims of domestic violence so that they're able to contact the police if they don't have a phone. So we've actually donated over 1,000. We've collected and donated over 1,000 phones at this point. Ink. If you have an ink or a toner cartridge that's empty, don't know what to do with it, bring it to us. We trade it in and we get some credit toward that, and that helps us defray the administrative costs for ISLAM. Group invites and emails. Contact me soon if you haven't already done this, and make sure you're on our group invites and you'll know everything we're doing. And Maysoon is the sister with the orange scarf over there. We need volunteers to pick up the weekly iftars. In the years past, Naran and I would do that and try to get to the iftar and do the lecture, and we'd like to delegate that. So we need to know now, because as you know, we're only about 15 days away from Ramadan, June the 6th. Count that up. Somebody didn't do the math, but I know that we have this Sunday, Sunday the 29th, and Sunday, June the 5th, and then Ramadan is expected to arrive Monday, June the 6th. So we need those volunteers to we will give you a check, and that's why we have to know a week in advance. We will give you a check and a tax ID number so that when you go to pick up the food, you have everything you need. So please speak to Maysoon. She'll be coordinating that. Thank you for volunteering, Maysoon. Actually it says contact Naran, that's my wife, so let's see.
We'll work together. Either one, two right there.
Okay. And my wife, there's Maysoon and there's my wife, and they will handle the that. So please talk to them about whoever's doing it. So today we are going to talk about, and this is particularly for new Muslims or Muslims who are not aware of the fiqh regarding Ramadan. The first part of the class will not be quite as lively as it is for the most part. But we're going to talk about the form of the month of Ramadan. And if we have time, inshallah, we'll move into the spirit of Ramadan. And the inner dimension of Ramadan, the spirit of Ramadan, is really, really where you want to be. But you've got to know the other stuff in order to get there. If you don't know that stuff, then you won't be able to get where I'm talking about. So we know that Saum is one of the pillars of Islam, fasting in the month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. And we know that right now we are in a very special month, the sandwich month, between Rajab and Ramadan, called Sha'ban, and a month where we have great blessings. And if you don't know about those great blessings, talk to any of the students because they've been taught about it. But this is a great month. This is the warm-up month for the marathon. So you want to make sure that you're making up any fast days, preparing your heart. And of course, last week we made goals. And the whole class made goals in terms of what they wanted to achieve this month of Ramadan this year, Ramadan this year. So I encourage you to make goals, write them down, and make a plan as to how you will achieve those goals. So don't let this Ramadan be like last Ramadan. Let this Ramadan be better than last Ramadan. And every subsequent Ramadan should get better. If you are fasting, and the same year you just end up with nothing but hunger and thirst, then you really are not achieving the goal and the vision and the mission of the month of Ramadan. So every sane Muslim who has reached puberty and is physically capable to fast, are supposed to fast. And let me say this, it's very important. If someone is sick, has diabetes, please do not fast without consulting your doctor. Allah said He made it easy for us. He made it a middle road. We are not extremists. We do not advocate any kind of extremism whatsoever. So please do not risk your health. You can feed the poor instead, and we'll talk more about that, inshallah, in the class today. So the people that don't have to fast are babies, of course. Young children before the age of 7 or 10, it's not mandatory. And this is sort of different schools that you'll see, basically. Before puberty, it's not a requirement. The insane are not required to fast. The ill who are whose recovery would be delayed. And please take that to heart. If you are having the flu or something and Ramadan starts, heal. You can make the days up. Do not make it hard on yourself. A person who is detached from Islam is not required to fast. A woman on her menses or who is suffering from postnatal bleeding is not required to fast. And breastfeeding or pregnant mothers who fear harm to themselves or harm to the baby. And we are all different, and this is the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. He knows that we're different. My wife's an African, so she breastfed for 8 straight years, never missed a day of fasting.
That's impossible to do it.
But so different people can do different things, but as long as it's not a hardship, it wasn't a hardship for her because she would also play 2 hours of racquetball while she's fasting and breastfeeding and all the rest of the stuff. But remember, she's an African, so you have to do what is good for you and what works for you, and not make it a difficulty, because that will affect the spirit. As we begin to talk about the rules and the spirit of the fast, if you do not take care of your body, then the spirit of the fast will be affected.
She's white American.
No, she's South African.
African.
All right, and so the conditions for a valid fast is the intention and the refraining from things that break the fast. So you do make an intention to fast on a daily basis, and we'll actually talk about that and give you some help. We will, and I need a reminder of this may soon, please give you a handout of the Jews for every day, the 30th of the Quran that's recommended reading for every day, as well as we will give you a handout with the what to say to make your intention and what to say to break your fast, inshallah. And I actually want to do that in Arabic, and I haven't done that yet. So this is the intention that you make, you can do it in English. You do not have to do it in Arabic. I've done the transliteration here, but basically I intend to fast this day in order to perform my duty towards Allah in the month of Ramadan. Sorry about that. Of the present year. As long as you make the intention that you're doing that, that's what's important. You don't have to say it in exactly these words. You just need to make the intention that you're fasting for the sake of Allah. And when does the day begin in the Islamic calendar? At Maghrib, very good. So at Maghrib, just before Maghrib, then you would say, I'm going to fast again. I'm making my intention to fast. Because we know that that is the arrival of the month of Ramadan. Oh, that's Mason so efficiently sending me my message already, so let me call my phone call. See how fast she is. So nuts and bolts, things which invalidate a fast, just to remind myself and to remind you, is deliberate eating, smoking, snuff or dipping, suppositories, intramuscular or intravenous injections that provide nutrition. Now there's an exception to the rule, obviously, if you are a diabetic. You've got to have insulin. Okay. Yahamakallah. Vomiting, intercourse, and overusing water during the wudu. So if you say, oh, I'm just really doing a real good wudu, and you accidentally on purpose bring in some water when you're fasting, then that would invalidate your fasting that day. In addition to making up the fast, one must free a sound Muslim slave, fast the days of 2 consecutive months, or feed 60 unfortunate souls. Basically, a liter is the best way to look at this, of food. This is if you actually were to decide to have intercourse during the month of Ramadan. And by the way, women are not punished for this. Women don't have to do this, but men do. This is the fit, the requirement of men who decide that I have my needs, and therefore I'm going to do this. Then this would be the price that they would pay. So let me just read it again, just in case you don't know this. In addition to making up the fast, one must free a sound Muslim slave. You may say, well, there are not any Muslim slaves. Actually, we have human trafficking today, and Florida, Tampa in particular, is the 3rd highest human trafficking city in the United States. So we do have human trafficking. We do have, actually, unfortunately, slaves in various contexts. We have women that are being oppressed and abused, and they are that's a form of slavery as well. They are being suppressed by batterers. Just for our new sisters, I am the chairman of the Orange County Domestic Violence Task Force, and we take part of the vision of this organization is to fight against intimate partner violence. Things that do not break the fast. If you accidentally walk by something and your nafus says, oh, that is looking so good, and you put it in your mouth, and oh, whoops, I forgot I'm fasting, then that hasn't violated your fast. It wasn't your intention to do so. So remember, if it's an accident, you just stop it, and then you just don't do it anymore. Involuntary vomiting doesn't break the fast. Nocturnal emissions, accidental ingestion of water during ablution. It's all about intention. Saliva, and some people are told this, that you can't swallow your saliva. I'll never forget meeting a new Muslim one time, and obviously the sister was told that you can't swallow. Here's another sister that was told that. So when you folks hear this stuff from me, it's because I've actually experienced it in the 30 years I've been working with reverts. The things that you're told, and this is why, even though this is a little unusual for my class, this thick stuff, as you will see later on, and as most people know, I don't tell you anything without giving you the sources. But I want you to be armed with stuff that people might tell you that has no validity. So you are absolutely allowed to swallow your saliva. If you have any, yes. I like that.
If you eat it properly, you'll have saliva.
And so the arrival of dawn when one is having their last bite. So, you know, I've just taken my last bite of suhoor, and I hear the adhan being told. I don't have to go projectile spit it out or anything, get all possessed or anything. Just swallow it and go on with just show. Yes, sister.
Brother, aren't we supposed to stop 10 minutes prior to the adhan?
Okay, the Hanafi school says that. The majority of schools do not. This particular masjid does teach that. However, the majority of scholars do not. And I'm just going to leave it at that. If you want to stop earlier, that's your prerogative. I can show you plenty of authentic hadiths that show that right up until the time of the adhan. So that's my practice. You do as you wish. I respect that. But I have in the past demonstrated all the hadiths where there were examples of people eating when the adhan was called. They just stopped eating. And this is the more accepted rule. Yes?
I have a question, because I've heard that no medication. Is that?
That is not the case. What's best practice? Remember, I always tell you what is best practice and then what you can do. So best practice would be to ask your doctor, is there a way that I can take this medication, say 12 or 13 hours with a break? So you would get up and take your medication for suhoor, and then you would be able to take it for iftar. Particularly here. Now, if you were in the UK, it would probably be unlikely because they start fasting about 3:30 in the morning and end at 10:30 at night. So that would probably be a difficult one, but you can do that. And the most important thing is your health. The sanctity of life is like that of the Kaaba. So you must love for yourself what I want for my brother, what I want for myself. How many people want your brother to be healthy? Okay, how many people then want to be healthy? Okay, so you must, health is important. Don't jeopardize your health. Okay. Momentary insanity doesn't invalidate, does invalidate the fast. And if you're unconscious for a day, menstrual or postnatal flow. The insane are not obliged to make up the days. And remember, this is thick stuff. It's a little unusual, but people need to hear this stuff. People need to be comforted when somebody comes up to you in the masjid and says stuff. Thank you very much for sharing that. I do understand that there's more than one opinion. Okay. Recommended measures while fasting is the suhoor, which is the pre-dawn meal. Even if you just drink some water, and this is founded in the hadith. I wanted to try to just get through this as a reminder to most of you today, and then get to the spirit of Islam. Some people have a date and water. I cannot eat suhoor. If I eat suhoor, I just don't have a really good fast. I get up, I drink, I do my prayers and stuff. I drink a quart of water, and that's what I do. You got to find out what works for you that enhances the quality of your experience to gain God consciousness. Breaking the fast, it is the sunnah to break it with an odd number of dates. If you don't have dates, it's not a haram. I've actually had people say it's haram if you don't break the fast with dates. You can break the fast with anything. But because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did it, if you do it, you will be blessed. Because you're doing it to emulate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so make a dua. Dua is the weapon of the believers, and I encourage you to consistently be making dua, to develop your lifestyle to be one of consistent dua, that you're always making dhikr, you're always asking Allah for what you need, and remembering Allah. So dua is the weapon of the believer. The dua that you make prior to breaking the fast is Allahumma sumtu wa ala raskika aftartu. What did I say? Allahumma layka sumtu wa ala rizkika aftartu. I think I must have left out a word there. Oh Allah, for thy sake have I fasted, and now I break the fast with the food that comes from you. So this is the intention that you want to make, and this is what I asked Maysoon to remind me. I'll print these on half sheets, and you can have them with you so you can practice them in Sha'ul. Recommended measures while fasting is to find ways to be generous. And this is why you'll notice traditionally that people raise money, have lots of fundraisers in the month of Ramadan because the blessings of giving, but they're also in Sha'aban as well. So if you really want to get a jump start giving in the month of Sha'aban as well. Improve one's relationship with family and relatives. I showed you this hadith last week that you should actually make things right. If anything is wrong with any of your relatives, then you need to correct that. You need to ask them to forgive you, make it right. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, it's real good for your ruh, it's real good for your spirit to just go to them and say, I'm really sad. My Lord has enjoined me to maintain the ties of kinship, and I know things haven't been right between us, and I want to make it right for the sake of the Lord. Recite the Quran much and reflect on it, ponder and contemplate about what you're reading. A lot of people try to read that juz every day, and at the end of it you say, well, what did you read? And they say, I don't know really. It was something about such and such a chapter, and they have no clue. So I would encourage you to ponder and reflect on what you're reading. There's some great books out there on themes of the Quran, so you can actually see the themes of what you're reading. But I would ask you to even personalize it more, to look inside of yourself and say, what speaks to me today? Of what I'm reading, what does it speak to me, and how does it relate to the day? And one of the things you'll find in this class is that we actually do tafsir as often as there's not a special day that we need to be reminded of or a special event. And we usually never cover more than 5 verses in an hour and a half. That much detail sometimes we've only done 1 verse. But we will go into detail and how it actually applies, how it's applicable to our time now. Breaking the fast with others. And I want to remind you that this is the month of abstinence. To break the fast with others, you do not have to be a martyr. You do not have to get up at Fajr in the morning and cook all day and cook 5 meat dishes and 4 vegetable dishes and 3 bread dishes and 2 desserts and whatever else. It is the month of abstinence. It is the month of restraint. And actually what we have done is we have fallen into this habit of our grocery bills go up astronomically in the month of Ramadan, and this is the very opposite of the purpose of this month. So it is okay to invite people over for iftar and give them soup and bread, as was the practice of many of the companions. You do not have to just be a martyr in the kitchen during this month. Yes, feed people and you will be blessed, but this is not the spirit of Ramadan. And I just want to reiterate that. People really struggle with that culturally, but the spirit of Ramadan is not to be extravagant. That's not even the spirit of Islam. So to have these ostentatious meals while you're fasting is defeating the purpose. Yes, dear.
I was just going to say, you would feed them what you would normally eat for.
Yeah, you want to feed people, moderation, feed people what you would normally eat. But how can you really gain God consciousness when you're miserable because you're just working yourself to death in the kitchen? So I would encourage you to really focus, on moderation, not being extravagant in this holy month. So do break the fast with others in a peaceful manner. I tend to like to break the fast with others that have the same goals that I have in the month of Ramadan. I do not like to go to large crowds where people push me down. Having had a stroke, I have to be very careful in crowds. I don't want to be in a place where people are pushing and angry because they didn't get in line before me, because that defeats the purpose of Ramadan. Perform ghusl if in a state of major ritual impurity before dawn. So I think everybody knows what that means. If you don't, see me after class and I'll clarify. Recommendations of Ramadan: he who breaks another's fast earns the same reward as the one who fasted without diminishing the latter's reward in the slightest. So yes, if your grocery bill goes up, let it be because you're feeding others, but feeding them a moderate, nice meal, not something like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, that's extravagant. Yes, dear?
Am I supposed to ask questions?
You can ask questions, it doesn't matter.
Ghusl, is it shower or is it just wudu?
No, it's a shower. It's a full body shower from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Remember, wudu'a is just washing your hands to the elbow, washing your face, rinsing your hair, and washing your feet to the ankle. If you have to make wudu'a, you must completely wash your whole body. Now, having said that, let me tell you that ghusl in the desert was made with 3 liters of water. So some people think that to make a ghusl, you got to stand in the shower for 30 minutes. This is also exaggeration. This is not in the spirit of tabdir, because you're actually wasting Allah's precious water. And there are hadiths that I've given to you in the past about that. So yes, you should completely wet your body not after emissions, sexual emissions, and you must do that before dawn. You cannot pray in that state. But it is a full, but literally the desert Arabs would take like 3 liters of water and pour it over, obviously take their clothes off and pour it over them, and that was a ghusl for them. They were in the desert. We don't have that problem, but we have another problem in that people are not respecting the earth in the way that Allah gave it to us, and people turn the water on full force and leave it on for 30 minutes. So we really do want to be conscious of this. We got a question over here, and then I'll come over here. Yes?
What if you miss the fajr and you didn't do ghusl?
Then you just make ghusl as soon as you get up, and then you make the qada fajr. So you make up the prayer, but you just have to have ghusl before you can pray.
Can you fast?
Just think about, yes, you can fast, and I'll give those hadiths too as we get into the spirit of things. But yes, you can fast. You just start from the time that you get up. Not the best practice, but it can be done. We are humans, and we have these instincts, and these things happen. It's not the best way to do it, but there is authentic ahadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ demonstrating this. Yes, I'm sorry.
So when you do your ghusl, though, you have to have the intention. You can't just get into the shower and come out like a normal shower.
No, you make an intention to make ghusl. Absolutely. Everything in Islam is by intention. Excellent point. So you're going in there. I'm going to sort of make a good news for modern man version of this. If you were going to see, wouldn't even want to do this, but it's just a good example. I think if you were going to see the President of the United States of America, would you go in your pajamas?
No.
Would you not take a shower before you went?
Yes.
Yes. Now, some of the people that are running for office right now, I just wouldn't want to be bothered, but I think the point I'm making, right? Everybody got that? So if you're going to a job interview, you clean up. Just remember that when you're going to pray, when you say Allahu Akbar and you stand in Qiyam, you're putting the whole world behind you. You are standing before Allah naked. So you want to be clean. When you come to meet your Maker, because it's a conversation you're having with Him. When you're having this dialogue in Salah, then you want to be clean. You have to be clean. You know what's really sad to me is tahara, the subject matter of cleanliness. We should have a class, and as soon as someone becomes a Muslim, they should be taught tahara. They should be taught, you know, shave your private parts, clean your private parts, wash yourself every time you go to the bathroom, you know, and people just aren't taught this stuff, and it's fundamental, foundational stuff in Islam. We try to teach people when they become Muslim. It's a little awkward, but
when you are old, it is very difficult.
yes.
Very
The older you get, I think probably the more it is.
But Allah
Now-
knows your intention.
But Allah knows your intention. He knows that we're old and it's hard for us. You know,
Yeah.
some of us, we can't always go into sujood. We can't always go into ruku'ah because of back problems and various things. But Allah is merciful.
Yeah.
He's merciful.
I keep on talking to Allah and I have difficulties of believing.
So the things that we want to avoid is, now I'm going to get into the spirit of this, but I'm just sort of trying to throw stuff out there as a reminder to us. Lying, slandering, and foul language. Any kind of exaggerations is a lie. Ghibah, namima, which is tail bearing. So you bring over here and there's already a tail that started and there's a little tiny spark, a little flint, a little smoke going on, and then you say, oh, but did you hear? And oh my God, did you know? And then before you know it, you've got a bonfire going. So You really want to work hard on avoiding this. What is a sin to say is a sin to hear. So when people come up to you with that gossip look, tell them right straight, I love you for the sake of Allah, but don't bring that gossip. I don't want it on my heart. I don't want that dirt on me, and I don't want that barrier between me and that person, because I know something they don't know I know. Or I think I know something. But they don't know that I know that something. So, things to avoid: donating blood, and also hemoglobin is sometimes lowered a little bit by fasting. So there are more than one reasons for not donating blood. But the spill of blood, by the way, is one of the things that avoids your ablution. So that has another reason why we do that. Any kind of abuse or arguing, you want to avoid. And we're, as I said, I'm just covering the nuts and bolts, and then we'll talk about the spirit of this. Making up missed days, missed fast days. You cannot delay until next Ramadan unless valid excuse, that is illness or travel. If one delays until next Ramadan, one must pay basically for a meal. If you think of this is how the fiqh lists it, but basically you would have to buy a meal and give it to a poor person for every fast day missed, in addition to making up the fast. So when you miss a day and you don't make it up within a year, then the penalty increases that you have to take care of. So get your days made. It's so easy to feed the poor. We actually do it for people sometimes because we want the barakah. So if someone is sick and they can't fast, I'll just make a deal with one of the halal restaurants. We get 30 plates or however many days they miss. And we go to Paramore and we feed the homeless. And it's such a blessing. So there's always a way to do it. If one delays until a second Ramadan, one must pay double this amount for each day. So it's very serious. It's very, very serious to do your fasting and to make sure that you make it up. So much so that it is in the fiqh, it is in the practice of Islam, that if someone in your family dies and we're not able to fast, that you do the fasting for them.
That is 13 pound is 20 pound later.
Basically, it's a plate of food. That's the easiest way, but because it's presented this way, it's the amount of food that most people would eat in a meal. So it's about a liter. A half of a liter, I'm sorry, is not a liter. It's a half of a liter.
Pound. Pound.
Is that about a pound? Okay. It's one plate of food. Just to simplify it, it's a plate of food like you would eat. Not like a football player would eat, but like an average person would eat. Not a Happy Meal. All right, so if one dies with unperformed fast days, which they could have fasted but did not, then each fast day is paid for by the responsible family member with a plate of food or by fasting for the deceased. So someone can either do the fasting or actually give a plate of food. If one dies and 2 Ramadans elapse, each fast paid for with double the food, or the family member can both fast today and pay 1 plate. Yes, brother? Did somebody raise their hand? Okay, I'm sorry, I thought somebody was. So just understand, the reason I like to show you this is because of the importance of fasting. A lot of people just don't recognize that on the Day of Judgment, the first thing you're going to be asked about is your salah. And then if you haven't done your fasting, it is like a debt that you owe Allah. So either somebody pays or you pay in the hereafter. So I advise you to pay now, keep all your bills paid toward Allah, and then the report card will be better, inshallah, on that day. Voluntary fasting, I just want to clear this up because there's a lot of misunderstandings about voluntary fasting. Sometimes new Muslims, just as I did when I became a Muslim 30 years ago, I got carried away and fasted to the point that I was sick. But I did fast before I was a Muslim, but I was allowed to drink water at that time, so it was quite different. So the voluntary fast are the 6 days of the month of Shawwal, following Eid al-Fitr, the 9th and 10th of Muharram, on a full moon days of every lunar month, which are the 13th and the 2 days following it, so 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar calendar of the Islamic months, every Monday and Thursday, the first 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, during the inviolable months, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. The best fast days after Ramadan are those of Muharram, Rajab, and Sha'ban, which we're in now. So a lot of people, if they don't have to make up days, then they will start to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, or at least fast the 13th, 14th, and 15th of Sha'ban. The day of Arafat, we fast if we're not a pilgrim. If you're a pilgrim and you fast, then you would actually violate your holiday. Yes, sister?
Just to clarify, if you're making up days and you do this voluntary fasting, does that count as the makeup days?
It's a good idea to use those
Okay.
in order to do your makeup. So you're sort of practicing the Sunnah of Monday and Thursday, and you're making up days. So it's just a nice thing because you're like getting, it's like a BOGO, buy one get one free kind of thing. Offensive or unlawful fasting every day of the year except 2 Eids and the 3 days following them. And I actually met a person who did this. When I first became Muslim, I met a man who had fasted for every day except the Eids. Yes, sister, sorry.
Can you fast voluntary fasting before you for Ramadan?
Well, you should, best practice. Remember, Allah gives us all these choices. Best practice is to make your obligatory fast before you do voluntary fasting. Because it's the argument given for salat. The obligatory salat, I owe. My past salats I should make up, but am I going to miss the obligatory ones and just start focusing on making up? So do the fard first and then follow it with the sunnah. Does that make sense?
Also, if you die and you haven't done your fard,
Yeah. Because if you die and you haven't done your fard, then what happens is that you're going to be accountable for it. Not if you did. You're not accountable for voluntary fasting. You're only accountable for the fards that were required. Let's see. The 30th of Sha'ban. Does anybody know why you can't fast that, or how it would work?
the day before